Okay, let's unpack this. You might think you know Bitcoin. Maybe you've heard it talked about as an investment or just some speculative thing.
Yeah, that's the common take.
Right. But today, we're doing a deep dive into some sources that show it as, well, something much more fundamental, something that really speaks to how our whole understanding of value of money, it's evolving right now. Our mission here is to get past the headlines, explore Bitcoin's essential role in this shifting economic landscape. We're really going to focus on decentralization, self-custody, and there's this one individual's journey that kind of brings it all to life.
And what's fascinating, I think, is how the source material frames Bitcoin. It's not just tech.
No.
It's presented as an indispensable resource, almost like an economic lifeline. And that has huge implications for, individual autonomy. It really challenges the common view.
An economic lifeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to put it. The source is actually presented as something everyone needs, like acquiring, I don't know, food or water in a survival situation.
Exactly. It shifts the perspective completely.
Yeah, from just a gamble to something foundational for security.
Absolutely. And the perspective is when Bitcoin's price dips, that's not necessarily risk. It's framed as a discount.
A discount on an essential thing.
A discount on this essential, scarce resource.
Yeah.
It's a totally different way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And, for people coming in now, there's maybe an advantage.
How so?
Well, the early adopters, they went through incredible volatility, serious hardship sometimes, really tested their belief. But the ecosystem's more mature now. So newer folks might avoid that same really brutal testing period. They benefit from better infrastructure, maybe a clearer understanding.
Okay, so if we're thinking long-term about financial security, this isn't just about making money, is it? It's presented more like securing something essential.
Precisely. Securing that resource for your own well-being, like making sure you have the basics covered. It suggests you really need to rethink your whole personal economy.
It moves way beyond get rich quick.
Oh, totally. It reframes it as securing your future economic self, getting this scarce asset that isn't under the same pressures as, regular fiat money.
Yeah.
It's like a defense against potential instability down the line.
And building on that idea of securing your future self.
Yeah.
A lot of Bitcoin's power comes from decentralization, right? But what does that really mean for the average person? On a practical level, why is that structure so important?
Decentralization, yeah. For Bitcoin, it basically means user empowerment, resilience. The revolutionary part is that anyone can participate. No permission needed.
From banks, governments, anyone.
Anyone. You can run a Bitcoin node that's basically a computer validating the whole transaction history from basic hardware you could buy at Best Buy.
Seriously.
Or you could mine. Or just hold the token yourself, self-custody. No gatekeeper saying no or asking why. And that's a huge contrast to a lot of these centralized altcoin projects.
How do they differ?
Well, in those systems, often the founders, or just a small group, they can change the rules. They can reverse transactions, change the whole project's direction, often without real community agreement.
Ah, okay. So, single points of failure.
Exactly. That kind of control reduces individual autonomy. It really highlights why Bitcoin's structure is unique in its resilience.
Right, and here's where it gets really interesting for me. It's not just about what you can do with Bitcoin, but what the sources suggest you risk by not participating. They talk about the cost of not opting out. What does that mean? What vulnerabilities in our normal money system, the fiat system, does Bitcoin potentially help you avoid?
That's such a critical point. The argument is if you stay only in traditional systems, you're exposed to their built-in flaws, their central control points.
Like inflation.
Like inflation, yeah. Just quietly eating away at your savings every year. It's like a hidden tax. Or think about capital controls.
Where the government can limit access to your own money.
Exactly. In a crisis, they might just lock it down. Bitcoin, because it's decentralized, permissionless. It's designed as a countermeasure. Its supply is fixed. No one can just print more. That fights inflation. And it's censorship resistant, so no third party can just freeze or grab your funds. It offers an alternative where you don't have to trust these, frankly, fallible institutions.
And understanding how it achieves that security and transparency, that often gets into the technical stuff, but it's vital. Proof of work versus proof of stake. Big difference, right? How'd you explain that simply, but highlight why it matters so much?
Okay, proof of work. That's what Bitcoin uses. It's presented as fundamentally fair. A labor-based system.
So working in the real world. Effort equals reward.
Sort of, yeah. Miners use computing power, real energy, real electricity to solve these complex puzzles.
Yeah.
That validates transactions, secures the network. And for that provable work, They get rewarded with new Bitcoin. It reflects a real-world resource cost. It makes attacking the network expensive.
Okay, clear. And proof of stake.
Proof of stake gets criticized quite heavily in the source material. The argument is it reinforces wealth concentration. Basically, the idea that if you're rich, you get richer. Because
How?
in POS, the more coins you already have and stake or lock up, the more power you have to validate transactions and earn the rewards. It inherently favors those who already have capital.
So POS favors existing wealth, POW rewards ongoing, verifiable effort.
That's a good way to put it. And the implications are huge. It's not just the rich get richer thing. It means control over a POS network could potentially concentrate in the hands of a few big players.
Creating central points of failure again.
Potentially, yeah. They could
Yeah.
collude, maybe exert undue influence, maybe even censor transactions. That's much, much harder in proof of work, where you need massive amounts of real-world energy and capital to gain that kind of control.
And the source material had personal stories about this.
Yes, really powerful ones. Experiences where altcoin projects just pivoted, changed direction completely, often enabled by their POS structure. And the person we're drawing from was left stranded financially because the mining rig he'd set up for one system became useless, literally overnight.
Wow.
It just hammered home that lack of individual control when the basic rules can be changed from the top down.
That really highlights the real-world consequences of these technical designs. So for someone just trying to get their head around this, what does it all mean for their own financial security, their autonomy?
It means the consensus mechanism.
Hmm.
It's not just some tech detail for engineers. It fundamentally affects fairness, security, and ultimately your individual power within that network.
Yeah.
It's about where the power really lies. Is it spread out based on work or concentrated based on existing wealth?
And this idea of power, control, and potential vulnerability, it leads right into another really powerful story from the source, a very personal one, highlighting how opaque and centralized traditional systems can be. Can you share that? And how it connects to Bitcoin's solution?
Yeah, certainly. The source talks about a really frustrating and expensive family situation. His aunt apparently exploited her control over his grandparents' estate,
Oh, wow.
fabricating accounts, manipulating assets, basically operating with very little accountability, because the traditional financial and legal systems can be so opaque, so slow. Resolving it took huge amounts of time, emotional energy, and obviously a lot of money in legal fees. Just proving the fraud was incredibly difficult.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It was. But what's insightful is how that painful experience directly led him to appreciate Bitcoin's solution. Transparent, auditable ownership. With Bitcoin, you have true self-custody. Your assets are under your control. And crucially, ownership can't easily be faked, manipulated behind the scenes, or hidden by institutional complexity.
That's a massive difference. If you can't fake ownership and the ledger is open,
Yeah.
it shuts down so many avenues for fraud.
Precisely. The beauty of it, as the source explains, is that anyone, literally anyone with a basic computer and internet, can audit a Bitcoin wallet's balance, or even check the total supply of Bitcoin directly.
You can't do that with gold, really.
No.
Or stocks.
Exactly. Verifying global gold supply. Impossible. Real estate stocks. You're trusting intermediaries, registries, institutions that can be wrong, or worse. So it makes you ask, right, how much safer could your assets be if you had that level of transparency, instead of relying on this complex, often murky third-party system?
That transparency really flips the script. You become your own auditor. And it's often these personal experiences, like the one you described, that drive home these big lessons. The source material traces this individual's journey, starting out pretty enthusiastic about other digital assets, actually. How did that path unfold from that initial interest to this deep conviction in Bitcoin?
Well, the journey started optimistically. He got into the crypto space mainly through Ethereum,
Okay.
but disillusionment set in quite early and quite deep. A key moment was back in 2017. Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum's co-founder, controversially rolled back the blockchain after the DAO hack.
Right, I remember that. Reversing transactions.
Yeah, reversing history, essentially. And for him, that was a huge lesson in centralized control. It showed that even in what was supposed to be decentralized, one powerful figure could make these massive decisions. Then, compounding that, was the network's later switch from proof of work to proof of stake.
The change we just discussed.
Exactly. And for him, it wasn't just technical. It made his mining rig, his investment in supporting the network, totally obsolete overnight. His effort, his capital, just devalued by a top-down change.
So it wasn't just one thing. It sounds like a pattern of the rules changing under his feet.
It really was. And it was cemented further by repeated bad experiences with rug pulls in the altcoin space.
Where developers just disappear with the money.
Yeah. He mentions things like Shibe, even NFTs.
Hmm.
There was this project, Pesky Penguins, where the creators apparently changed the rarity metrics after people had bought in. Suddenly, assets were devalued based on arbitrary, after-the-fact rule changes.
That's not just market risk, that's manipulation.
Exactly. These weren't market swings. They were centralized projects, changing the game after people had already put their trust and money in. And ironically, all these negative experiences, this series of disillusionments, they pushed him.
Push him towards Bitcoin.
Pushed him to discover Seyfedin Amis's book, The Bitcoin Standard. And reading that, as he describes it, is what truly cemented his conviction. He finally understood that Bitcoin's unique, immutable decentralization was fundamentally different from everything else he'd encountered.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How sometimes you have to go through the noise, the failures to really recognize the signal. Those setbacks became the catalyst for a much deeper understanding.
Absolutely. It was like a practical education in what isn't decentralized, which helped him fully appreciate what is. He realized true decentralization isn't just a label, it's baked into the architecture.
And this journey didn't just stop at personal belief. He went from being this learner navigating the challenges to becoming an educator himself, someone advocating for real decentralization. What did he do next? What practical steps did he take?
By 2022, he'd gone way beyond theory. He got hands-on, set up his own Bitcoin node, actually participating in securing the network. He set up his own mining rigs, too.
Really getting into the mechanics.
Exactly. Gave him firsthand insight into decentralization. And it gave him that unique ability we talked about. He learned how to audit the entire Bitcoin supply himself from his home computer, confirming its scarcity directly.
Something you just can't do with gold or stocks in the same way.
Impossible with traditional assets. You can't independently verify the total supply like that. It requires trust in institutions. With Bitcoin, the verification is built in and accessible.
So he didn't just read about it, he lived it, built it, verified it. That brings a different level of understanding.
For sure. And now his focus is really on teaching others. He talks to policymakers, regular people, just explaining Bitcoin's fundamentals, its unique properties. He sees it as crucial for wider understanding.
And his thinking was shaped by some key books.
Yeah, he mentioned several. The Bitcoin Standard, which he calls the Bible of Bitcoin, connecting it to sound money principles. The Creature from Jekyll Island, Understanding Central Banking and Fiat, which contrasts sharply with Bitcoin's transparency.
Okay.
The Richest Man in Babylon for timeless ideas on personal finance, saving, wealth preservation, which aligns with Bitcoin's self-custody aspect, and The Sovereign Individual.
Ah, a classic.
Right. Providing that framework for how technology, like Bitcoin, empowers individuals and potentially shifts global power away from centralized structures.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, the listener? This deep dive, it really paints Bitcoin as much more than just an investment, doesn't it? It's presented as a major shift.
A paradigm shift, yeah. The key takeaway from these sources is that Bitcoin offers a potential path to independence. Independence from centralized manipulation. It offers real self-custody of your wealth, a monetary supply that's transparent and verifiable, and maybe, just maybe, a way to move from being a potential victim of financial systems to having genuine economic sovereignty.
It's about reclaiming control.
In an increasingly complex and centralized world, yes, it's about individual empowerment.
So here's something to think about. If the ability to truly control your own wealth without needing to trust others, without fearing arbitrary inflation or censorship, if that's actually within your reach, what does that change? What does that mean for your financial future? We've only really scratched the surface today, but hopefully you've got some powerful new insights now for your own deep dive into all this.